It is a neck-and-neck battle between Jake Retzlaff and Gerry Bohanon to be the starting quarterback for the BYU football program this fall. We needed to discuss, though, what is in BYU football's best interest not only for this season, but the future.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? I'm Jake Hatch, your host here on Locked On Cougars, your resident BYU insider. Thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first view and or listen of the day, and thank you to all of you who are everydayers with us right here on your original daily podcast focused on all things BYU. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. All summer long, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. All right, let's dive right in on today's show. And I love when I have things from my quote-unquote day job with the KSL Sports Zone transfer over to this podcast. And there was a very interesting question posed to me on the Saturday show, which I am a co-host of every Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon Mountain Time. If you want to tune into that, would love to have you guys tune in. But we were talking this past Saturday about the BYU quarterback battle between Jake Retzlaff and Gerry Bohanon. Obviously, if you believe the reports out there, and I've been there watching with my own eyes, I think very much this is a neck-and-neck battle. These are two guys who are going toe-to-toe every single day, duking it out to have the privilege of being the starting quarterback for BYU come August 31st when they take on Southern Illinois. The question that was posed to me, and I don't remember if it was Brett Hammer or my good friend Alex Napolis who posed the question, but the question was posed to me, Jake, what is in BYU football's best interest as to who wins this quarterback battle? Meaning, okay, obviously BYU wants to win this fall. And a lot of you out there believe, some of you believe, that if Kalani Sitake doesn't get to bowl eligibility this year, he very much could lose his job. At the very least, should be on the hot seat going in to year 3 of the Big 12 Conference. That's a discussion for another day. But the quarterback is going to be very important for any and all success BYU is going to have. This is a sport, speaking of college football, that is quarterback driven more so than almost any other position on the field. The quarterback has an outsized role on the winning or losing effort of a college football team. The question is, if Gerry Bohanon is BYU's starting quarterback this fall, is BYU right back in the same position they were right now next summer? Meaning Gerry Bohanon is a one-and-done guy. He's coming into BYU, playing out his final year of eligibility, and if he were to unseat Jake Retzlaff, would that cause BYU to get into this mode of having to go out in the transfer portal every single year and bring in a one-and-done guy? They did it with Kedon Slovis last year. In theory, this year it could be Gerry Bohanon as BYU's QB1, and then you find yourself next summer looking at the proposition of likely having to bring in another transfer portal quarterback or essentially going with a very young quarterback on the roster, let's say a Noah Lugo, a McKay Hillstead, etc., and hoping that they are the answer that can build up some continuity. As I thought more about this, both during the show and obviously after it, because I'm talking about it here on the podcast today, I'm not going to lie, I believe it's in BYU football's best interest that Jake Retzlaff wins this quarterback job. Why? Well, it would allow for BYU to have some continuity for at least 2 seasons if Jake Retzlaff lives up to the billing as being QB1 in Provo. Gerry Bohanon is a home run to have as your backup quarterback, and BYU's recent past at the quarterback position suggests that Gerry Bohanon, whoever QB2 is absolutely going to see time this season. The simple fact of the matter is BYU has not gone through a season unscathed at quarterback in quite some time. So having 2 high-level quarterbacks is a very good thing for BYU to have. But if you want to build some continuity and also build up a succession plan at quarterback, Jake Retzlaff has to be the guy for that instance alone. Does that mean that BYU will think anything about the future with regards to their quarterback position when it maybe is a clear night and day difference if Gerry Bohanon is head and shoulders above Jake Retzlaff at the quarterback position? No. If they believe that Gerry Bohanon gives them the best opportunity to win, they will play him. I'm talking simply in the circumstance, if you want to set up the succession plan, because remember, when Zach Wilson took over, he beat out Jaren Hall to be QB1. Jaren Hall assumed that mantle as soon as Zach Wilson, not Jake Retzlaff, as soon as Zach Wilson moved on to the NFL. And then Jaren held down that job. There was a lot of people in and around the program that believed that Baylor Romney was a likely candidate to take over when Jaron Hall exited the program, but that got short-circuited when Baylor Romney decided to hang up his cleats and move on with life. That threw BYU for a little bit of a loop, and they went out to the transfer portal and brought in Keaton Slovis. Obviously, BYU saw what Jake Retzlaff had in the tank during those Final Four games last year, and there were some very, very positive moments, but also moments of just head-scratching, what in the world just happened type stuff. That 100-yard pick six, I think, is indelibly etched in all of our minds. Look like BYU is going to score. They're going to take the lead on Oklahoma and maybe wrench control of that game away from the Sooners. And then in an instant, not even 10 seconds later, feels like all hope is lost. You can't have moments like that, obviously, but if you simply want to have the future set up where Jake Retzlaff, in theory, wins the quarterback job this fall and ends up being the guy for BYU for the next 2 years, that would allow BYU to set up a little more of a succession plan at quarterback, and in hopes that they can avoid having to hit the transfer portal on an annual basis to bring in their starting quarterback. It's nothing against Gerry Bohanon. It's nothing against what the transfer portal is or is not in your mind. It's more about the future of the BYU quarterback position. We all know this. Any of you who are longtime listeners of this podcast or even longtime BYU fans know that the success of BYU football resides on the arm of their starting quarterback. Jake Retzlaff, if you want to have guys who come in, kind of season themselves up, and then just kind of step into the role, and they already know the system inside and out, think back to the QBU era of LaVell Edwards, where you had a guy come in, he sat for 2 years, then he got 2 years to be the guy in Provo. The idea of that being a reality, it may seem fleeting because of the transfer portal and NIL, but I know that BYU football would like to have that in their back pocket if at all possible. It will take time to get that set back up. Is Noah Lugo the next guy to assume that mantle? Is it McKay Hillstead? Nobody knows. Is it Nolan Keeney, who just recently committed to the BYU football program? Or is it a guy out on a mission right now that could come in and win that quarterback job? If you want to get that set up where you start to have a little bit of a succession plan where guys come in, they work their way up the depth chart, and then by the time they're a junior, they're the guy for 2 years in the BYU offense. If you want to truly have that set up and get that going right away, I believe you've got to have Jake Retzlaff end up being the guy in this circumstance. I think it would allow for BYU to obviously get McKay Hillstead, Noah Lugo, and then Enoch Watson, who's out on a mission right now, obviously be in the mix when he returns from that mission. It would allow you to kind of set up for the future for BYU football, where in theory, I think Jake Retzlaff ends up as QB1 for this year and next year. McKay Hillstead probably redshirts this year, has a year working as the chief backup to Jake Retzlaff next year, and then maybe he takes over as a redshirt junior, has his 2 years. Noah Lugo at that point, maybe as a junior, he's battling with, in theory, let's say Enoch Watson to be the QB after that. But that would get you through the rest of the decade if all goes according to plan. Now, all it takes in a similar circumstance, what I talked about with the Baylor Romney situation, is a guy deciding to hit the transfer portal, deciding to move on with life. That could throw all of this for a loop. But as I thought about that question posed to me, I really do believe it's in BYU football's best interest that Jake Retzlaff ends up as QB1, if only simply for the fact that it would allow BYU to get back into the quarterback business where they're recruiting high school guys, bringing them in, developing them over time, and allowing them to really get ingrained in this system and then succeed at a high level versus having to hope and pray that you can hit the transfer portal on an annual basis. Have the money to bring in high-level transfers, because if you believe the reports out there, they didn't have this past time, and Gerry Bohanon was one of the few quarterbacks who was simply looking for an opportunity versus a paycheck. And then B, hope that that guy in the transfer portal really is him and can be a legit QB1 for you. So there's a lot to debate on this, and I welcome your guys' feedback. Drop it in the show notes below. What if you're watching this on YouTube, drop us a comment. If you're listening to this wherever you listen to your podcast, let me know via social media what you think of this. Drop me an email, lockedonbyu@gmail.com. What do you think is in BYU football's best interest? Do you focus on the here and now, just this season? And if Gerry Bohanon offers you the best opportunity to win, you say, heck with it, and decide that that's what you're going to go with. Because I'll also add this. If Gerry ends up winning this job, why does Jake Retzlaff stick around? I don't see a scenario where that happens. And then yes, you're probably back in the transfer portal coming up this December, looking at the options in the portal, or hoping that, yes, McKay Hillstead spent potentially a redshirt year getting himself up to speed and he can step in, or it's Noah Lugo that is really ready to go this time next year. That's the scenario that I kind of see playing out in my mind. And once again, I really do think if you want to consider just that individual circumstance, Jake is and should be the guy for BYU at quarterback. But that's just one person's opinion on the matter. And it also, like I said, has details that are wrapped up in all of that. All right, coming up here in just a minute, we're going to talk with Riner Swanson, a true freshman who is turning heads. He has turned heads since the spring, since arriving in January from Laguna Beach High School. I had a great opportunity to catch up with him last Friday. We had a great chat about what he has accomplished so far in practice for BYU and what he has goals to accomplish in his true freshman season. We'll get to all that next, right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, driving patience, the formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for with eBay Guaranteed Fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices you want, that's a very important part of this, the prices you want, but also the price you want to pay. It's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home those huge wins with our friends at eBay Motors. So keep your ride or die alive once again, ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. Appreciate all of you for tuning in, making it a part of your day. I would encourage you guys, if you have not done so already, make sure your second listen is our friends over the Locked On College Football Podcast. Spencer McLaughlin, a dear friend of mine, get you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron from a national perspective, discussion on the upcoming season, and the ever-changing landscape of college athletics, including conference realignment, the transfer portal, NIL, new college football expanded playoff, and more. It's Locked On College Football. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, and it's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, had a great opportunity Friday to talk with a guy that I think is going to turn some heads this fall. Not only because he has got bleach blonde hair, has the look of a California surfer, and is just an incredible tight end prospect. I'll just tell you this much. Riner Swanson is a heck of a human being. I had a great chat with him. We talked for about double the length of this interview that we're going to play momentarily after we got done with the interview. But this is a young man that his demeanor, his size, his just overall athleticism and ability as a football player belies the fact, folks, that he is just 17 years old. Consider that. He is 17, and there's a very real likelihood that he'll see the field this fall for the BYU football program. That is just, it's incredible to me to think that this is a kid who was playing high school football this time last year, but it looks like he has got the goods that he's going to be able to get on the field and really contribute for the BYU football program. And as you'll hear him say momentarily, he wants to do just that. How are you adapting to life as a true freshman tight end playing for BYU football?
Yeah, I've adapted for sure. I'm cool with like every member of the team. Everyone's super chill with each other. There's no beef, which is super nice. I'm not a guy who like creates beef at all. I'm just like a mellow dude. I don't really care. But I've been here since January, and people have known me for 6 months, and I've got to know them. And just adapting to the speed of the game and just the team overall, it's been. I think I've adapted pretty well. It's been good.
How helpful has it been that you came in early?
Very, very helpful. Like right now, I'd barely be seeing the field because the plays that Coach Roderick he's putting in right now are like, they're pretty confusing. If they were putting in those plays in spring ball, I would be screwed. Coming from Laguna Beach, Laguna Beach football, it's just like an air raid offense, and it's a very simple game plan. Okay. This I had to learn like I had to know all the positions, all the tight end schemes, how to block. It's D1 football.
Yeah.
And I was coming from like D7 football, which is a big jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Laguna Beach is cool. Laguna Beach is dope.
Hey,
I'm very happy I went there.
I think everybody watching.
Shout out to Coach
listening
Shanahan.
this-
Coach Shanahan's dope.
Hey, Laguna Beach is heaven on earth. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm spoiled for sure.
Absolutely. I also wanted to ask you just, how is it working with Coach Gilbride?
Very good. Yeah, I'm super blessed to have him as a coach. He gets on me, but also like in a loving way. He knows how to teach instead of like just yelling in your face and telling you to go watch film and look at it yourself. He doesn't yell. I mean, sometimes he kind of yells at like it's not bad. He's really good at teaching, and he's good at communicating with his players, and he's been in the NFL coaching for 12 years, and he's a phenomenal coach. He's shown a lot of mercy on me because the past couple days I've been just trying to get into the swing of things a little bit. And he's been giving me great opportunities to make plays, which I'm gonna be humble. Yeah, I haven't made like the greatest plays. I've dropped some balls, but it's day 3. We're going to day 4 tomorrow. And Coach Gilbride's been very helpful in teaching me and just adapting to this new level of competition. So yeah, I gotta get my head out of my keister and go attack these balls. Yeah.
You talk about getting along with the guys, obviously on the team, but in the tight end room, you and Keanu are kind of the newcomers to that group.
Yeah.
How has it been working with a guy like Keanu, who's got a little more of a wide receiver background?
It's been great. Yeah, we were just walking away from practice, talking to each other. We were just helping each other with the jug machine. Mm-hmm. We got a good relationship. He's super cool. Keanu's such a good dude. He cares. He cares about me. He cares about the other tight ends. He's cool with everybody on the team. He's a great football player because he's been at BYU as a receiver for, I don't know,
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Mm-hmm. And he's had so much experience. So it's really good. Yeah, he's tight. I think he's like the tight end right now. It's been really good watching him these past 6 months, watching guys like Jackson Bowers, Ethan Erickson, Pava. I'm blanking on some of the other guys there.
Jackson and those guys.
Yeah,
okay.
Jackson Bowers and Keanu helped me so much. Not to mention Ethan and Tava, but I've been getting so much help for sure. Keanu's great.
How is it adapting to, I know that you said you played in an air raid scheme in high school. How is it adapting to playing inline tight end and having to block and the physical part of it?
Yeah, it's been weird. It was weird at first. I went to the Poly Bowl, and I was doing some inline tight end stuff, and I thought it was good. It was pretty chill. We didn't have near the level of complexity that we have here. I was at the Poly Bowl, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just a slot receiver my whole high school career, and coming here, you start doing inline stuff and blocking freaking Tyler Batty and all these massive DNs. It's not fun at first, but I mean it's a cool experience. Life's all about learning. So yeah, I've had a good role. I've had some good experiences. It's been good.
What is your ultimate aspiration to contribute as a freshman this year?
It's an aspiration.
Do you want to see the field? What do you end in accomplish?
Well, I graduated early so I could play a lot as a freshman before my 2-year mission.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to see the field. I'm doing everything I can. I'm watching a lot of film, trying to do my job. I feel like I'm good with the plays. I think I got the playbook down. Obviously, there's a bunch of mistakes I make, and everyone else makes. We're all human. But that's my goal. It's been my goal for a couple of years now. All I can think about is just playing as a true freshman and getting a touchdown, and just hearing LaVell Edwards go crazy. Yeah.
How exciting is it to consider you're going to be playing in the Big 12 and playing all across the country against Utah and the like?
That Utah game's going to be nuts. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah.
We're going to get flamed, but that's just football. Yeah, Big 12 is going to be super cool. Playing in Florida, that's going to be awesome. Kansas, all these big-time schools, great all-time programs. So yeah, I'm super blessed to be at BYU. Right now, it came at a good time right as they're going to the Big 12, and yeah, we're all adapting. We're all getting used to it, and it's been good. We're getting much better.
All right, I know you're an Orange County boy who likes to surf. So what do you do for fun in Utah when you don't have a beach nearby?
Oh, well, in the winter, I probably shouldn't say this. On the weekends, I go skiing a little bit. Just
got it.
Mellow runs.
Yeah.
blue squares. That's the limit. Because if you go on a block down with all these moguls, if you get hurt,
you're in trouble.
Coach Kalani's gonna kick my butt.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would suck. Okay, right now I'm in the dorms.
Okay.
So I'm in the dorms. Healing Halls. That's freaking lit. That's super fun. Every day we're having fun. It's a bummer because everyone goes to sleep at like 4 a.m. on average every night. Well, I have to go to bed like 10:30.
Yeah.
So I'm staying responsible, and it's been good meeting new guys, new girls, and having a lot of fun.
There you go, Riner Swanson, BYU tight end, and I'm telling you, this is a kid. He's pretty blunt. He's skiing because a lot of football players will hide the fact that they like to do some of those quote unquote high risk activities. Now, he did clarify he's not doing double black diamonds or the like. He's staying on the moderate to easy trails out there. But this is a kid who loves to surf. He was on the surfing team for his high school. That should tell you everything you need to know about a kid who grew up on Laguna Beach, went to the Laguna Beach High School. But I'm telling you, folks, number 80, that's what Ryner wears. Keep an eye out for him this fall. I really do think that there is a role for him to play as a true freshman, and he does fully intend after this season to go on a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've got to give mad props to him because it sounds and feels and looks like this is a kid who could be playing high-level football for quite a while, and he's going to set those shoulder pads and the helmet aside for 2 years to go out and serve a mission after playing a season this fall. It's really, really inspiring thing, but the other thing about it is talking with him, you can tell that he is supremely motivated to go out there and put on for his team. He's not coming in with a big head. I'm a 4-star prospect. Give me the ball. He has proven time and time again during spring camp and obviously throughout training camp so far and also the summer workouts that he's one of the guys. He wants to put his nose to the grindstone. He works hard every single day, and you heard him get down on himself because he hasn't had necessarily the best practices of late, but that's a guy that you can tell. He knows he needs to be better, and that is going to push him to get better. You can do a lot with a guy that is that humble with the skill set that he possesses. I'm telling you, there's part of me, it's like, dude, the mission is one thing, and I'm not ever going to tell you to not go on a mission, but man, what could this kid become? And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can contribute this year as a 17-year-old true freshman who is legitimately looks like he's a college junior. It's incredible to watch that kid play football, and he is very, very polished in all facets for his age. All right, coming up here in just a minute, we'll finish up today's show with some basketball discussion. AJ Dybantsa, the top-rated prospect in the upcoming recruiting cycle, has named his top 7 schools. BYU is in that mix. It's absolutely incredible to see the meteoric rise in terms of the recruiting profile for BYU basketball. Can they really pull this off? We'll delve into that more momentarily right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Now, FanDuel is here for you guys all summer long. If you want to think about a bet, whether you're watching a baseball game this summer, you're watching something in the Olympics, no matter what you're into, all you got to do is open the app with our friends at FanDuel and put the bet together that you have dreamed up in your mind. That's the simple part of the matter when it comes to FanDuel. If you want to bet on BYU's future odds, you got a 4.5 win total, 4.5 wins this fall for BYU football. BYU basketball, who we're going to talk about here momentarily, they got 55-1 odds as national championship contenders. Anything and everything you want to bet on, from Major League Baseball to NFL futures to NHL. No matter what you're into, FanDuel's got options for you guys and hooking up all customers all summer long with a booster bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day all summer long. So take advantage of it now and head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. That's FanDuel.com and have some fun with that booster bonus daily. And it's all courtesy of FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you have not done so already, I would highly encourage you guys to join us our Locked On Cougars Insider Group. I'm sharing tidbits of what I'm gleaning from BYU football practices. And the best part about our Locked On Cougars Insider Group, it's not a message board you have to go and peruse. You're not having to log into some website. It comes to your phone in the form of a text message. It does not get much more direct and just intimate than that in a text message form. If you want to join us, the link is in the show notes, whether you're watching this on YouTube or wherever you're listening to your podcast. You get a 14-day free trial to see if what I'm feeding you guys in terms of my insider tidbits is worth it to you guys, and just $5 a month afterwards. So thank you in advance for signing up. We've had a really nice response throughout the first few days of BYU training camp, and hoping that many more of you will join us in the coming days and weeks as we get closer and closer to the start of a very, very exciting BYU football season. All right, let's talk BYU basketball for a moment before we get going on today's show. And AJ Dybantsa, obviously the top-rated prospect in the 2025 recruiting cycle. If you believe a lot of the hoops insiders out there, they believe that he is built in the vein of, let's say, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony. We're talking a generational type talent. Well, he has cut his college list, his finalists, to 7 schools. The interesting part about this is of those 7 schools, 4 of them reside in the Big 12 Conference. Those are Baylor, BYU, Kansas, and Kansas State. So BYU is in the final 7. The other ones are Arizona, they're Auburn, Alabama, and then North Carolina. Sorry, I didn't mean to put Arizona, got cut out of that. The incredible part to me is that Kentucky's not in this mix. Who would have thought that when Mark Pope left BYU and went to UK, went to be the head coach of one of the bluest blue bloods when it comes to college basketball, that just a few months later, the top-rated prospect in the 2025 recruiting cycle was going to put BYU in his final 7 and not UK. That's just one incredible facet about this. But it is shown once again that Kevin Young is just an absolute wizard when it comes to recruiting high-profile athletes. He has got a message that resonates with guys like AJ Dybantsa with his NBA background. This is a kid, speaking of Dybantsa, he and his family, they've made no bones about it, that he is going to be a one-and-doner. He is going to be the top prospect going into the 2026 NBA draft after his one season in college. Despite all that, BYU absolutely would love to have him, and it doesn't hurt that he's going to be playing his final year of high school basketball down the road. I know it's a Hurricane and Provo are separated by about 3 hours in terms of a car ride, but he's playing right down the road from BYU. Now, Utah Prep, which Dybantsa will be suiting up for, is headed to Shanghai, China this week. They'll be playing teams from different countries as part of an overseas tour. And he, along with JJ Mandequit, Anthony Falesi, there's some really, really talented players that BYU's in on that Utah Prep Academy team, that any one of them will be a major pickup for BYU. But if BYU can pull off this recruiting win and bring in the top-rated prospect in a recruiting in the recruiting sense at any point, whether it's AJ Dybantsa or in the future, it just shows you how high BYU's recruiting profile has risen in a very little time. Some of you may have seen it over the weekend, but 24/7 Sports has finally rated Yegor Denham as a 5-star prospect. In the era of the rating system from 24/7 Sports, that is the first 5-star prospect to have signed with BYU. Really, the only way you top that is to bring in the Dybantsa's of the world if you're Kevin Young. And the fact that BYU's in this group, it's a really, really positive thing. Here's what he told ESPN, speaking of AJ Dybantsa, about his visit to BYU and why he has BYU as one of his finalists. Quote, "After my unofficial visit and conversations with Coach Kevin Young, he can bring me in and play me like a pro with his knowledge of the NBA with the Phoenix Suns and taking it to BYU. He also mentioned he coached Joel Embiid. He knows what he's talking about. It's a big campus and facility." That's some high praise for Kevin Young and what it is perceived that Kevin Young can do for these young men. The biggest thing I think for BYU basketball from their perspective, from Kevin Young's perspective, what they've got to prove to AJ Dybantsa and his family is that, yes, Yegor Denham and Cannon Catchings, among others in this team right now for BYU going into the season, they need to prove they can truly develop those guys, because there's a lot of thought out there that Yegor Denham is a top 10 prospect in next year's NBA draft, and Cannon Catchings is a very likely first-round pick. If Kevin Young can deliver for both of those young men and develop them, help them become the prospects they are perceived to be in this upcoming NBA draft cycle, that is going to help AJ Dybantsa's family feel more comfortable with picking an off-the-beaten-path BYU program that would just, frankly, I think, astound everybody when it comes to the recruiting wins. If he spurns the likes of Baylor, Auburn, Alabama, Kansas, Kansas State, and North Carolina and picks little old BYU, they're going to be hoop heads nationwide whose heads are going to explode. And then the very next thing out of their mouth is, what? He picked where? That is what's going to happen if speaking of AJ Dybantsa, if he picks BYU. I am putting nothing past Kevin Young. He has proven so far in his relatively short tenure at BYU that he can go out on a recruiting trail and he can get indoors that I frankly think other coaches in BYU basketball history could only dream of getting in the door of. And it's nothing against those other coaches. They've had really good coaches in BYU basketball history. Go all the way back. The Stan Watts of the world, the Frank Arnolds, the Liddell Andersons, Roger Reed, Steve Cleveland, Dave Rose, even Mark Pope. They've had very capable coaches in terms of the X's and O's and putting competitive teams and playing in the NCAA tournament, all the different things that BYU basketball has been able to accomplish. But if you pull this off and you bring in AJ Dybantsa, Kevin Young rockets to what? The top 3 of all-time BYU coaches, notwithstanding he hasn't really accomplished anything on the court so far. It's a really interesting time to watch what is happening with BYU basketball's recruiting profile. It is skyrocketing. It's on like this, it's just taken off. If you, the palabra of one of those of a graph, it's in that like just that extreme growth category right now because there is so much good going for BYU basketball. Really, the only thing that now needs to be proven by Kevin Young and company is to go out there this season, come November, and show that you can both recruit at an extremely high level and then also, like I'm talking about, play basketball at a high level. Coach them up, let these guys develop, compete at a high level in the Big 12, and really show what you're capable of. If they can pull that off, and there is an if still attached to that because we have not seen this team play in a game yet, but expecting that will come to fruition, there's really nothing holding BYU basketball back from really becoming a force in college hoops. Now, I think all of us, George truly included, want to see them have success in the postseason. That's really, I think, what it's going to come down to in terms of if Kevin Young wants to differentiate himself as one of, if not the greatest BYU basketball coach, well, take your team to the Sweet 16, take your team to the Elite 8, and heaven forbid you get a Final Four on your resume. Yeah, if BYU goes to a Final Four under Kevin Young, I'll have no problem saying he's BYU's best basketball coach in program history. It would be undeniable at that point because, yet again, I say this often, BYU has the most NCAA tournament appearances without a Final Four berth in college basketball. That is something that BYU would absolutely like to shed off their resume, and I think Kevin Young, if he continues to recruit at the level he's recruiting at so far, that is a realistic possibility at some point in the relatively near future. And I want to be there on the quote unquote front lines watching it go down. All right, that will do it for today's show. And also, real quick, best wishes to Jimmer Fredette. He revealed on social media that he's going to have a 6-month recovery. He tore 2 separate ligaments in his abductor at the Paris Olympic Games. Remember, he got injured. He said he injured it in their second game against Poland very early on in that contest. He did not play again afterwards, but I'm telling you, if I tore 2 ligaments off my abductor, I'd be out for a lot longer than 6 months, it feels like. But best wishes to Jimmer Fredette. Obviously, get back to full health in a relatively short period, hopefully, and we'll see what the future holds for one of the all-time BYU basketball legends in his own right. All right, that'll do it. A big thank you, as always, for you guys' support of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day, and obviously a big thank you to all of you who are everydayers as well. Want to encourage you once again to make your second listen today. Our friends over the Locked On College Football Podcast. My good friend Spencer McLaughlin will get you up to speed on everything you know about college football from a 30,000-foot perspective, just in terms of the national scene. Check that out. And once again, thank you for making Locked On Cougars a part of your day.